more than 60 points in the direction away from being pro-Israel to being pro-Palestine by 42 points. Used to be pro-Israel by 17 points. And then post-October 7, when this ethnic cleansing campaign accelerated and everyone could see it, it turned into a plus 43-point swing in the direction of Palestinians. So this coalition has grown, and I see it. I've mentioned this over and over again. We talk about this off camera as well with other people who have been talking about Palestinian emancipation for decades, myself included. Like, I have seen this environment, the information environment, and the previous methods of like squashing any sort of criticism of Israel go away. It withered away. I myself am living and breathing proof. A political commentator who is able.
The fucking, like, oh my god, this, like, fuck, dude, I am incredibly impressed at how flexible Hasan is to suck his own dick on stream. Holy shit. Dude, Olympic athletes, take note. Okay?
To speak convincingly on Palestinian emancipation since October 8, 2023, without being utterly destroyed. You have hundreds of thousands of people in European capitals taking to the streets, demanding an end to this bloodshed. This is unheard of.
From Barcelona to Athens, Mexico City to Rio de Janeiro. The weekend saw major protests in several cities against Israel's military campaign in Gaza. While estimates vary, organisers say 150,000 marched in The Hague on Sunday to put pressure on the Dutch government, dressing in red to symbolise the red line they say Israel has crossed.
Something that happened quietly over the past 10 years, that the thing you're supposed to say about Israel, Palestine in progressive circles shifted from a two-state solution message to a binationalism message, which has greatly increased intra-left coalition tension. This is on October 13th, 2023, when this... A question that I find generally interesting in politics is, when does it make sense to try to deliberately polarize an issue? It's not never, but it's also not always. And I think the practical upshot of this particular polarization dynamic is going to be bad for Palestinians. Note, for example, that Israel-Palestine is the only issue I can think of on which Joe Biden has positioned himself to the right of Barack Obama. He was
weird edit choice. Even, dude, I like how even his editors think he yaps too much.
Wrong objectively, but it's especially crazy to me to be wrong on this 20 months after the fact. Matt Iglesias is always wrong. Okay, he's always the first to be wrong. How are you going to be the last to be wrong? I never thought that there was a position worse than Matt Iglesias is on this issue. So it did not actually shrink the coalition. Zionist is a very broad category, yeah, by design. And there's a lot of lies being told about what Zionism is. Also, by design, this is the reason why Zionism is oftentimes in the media covered as like, do you care as a Jew about the state of Israel? But you know what's never talked about? Because I don't know why, well, I do know why we center this conversation around Jews. But there is a far larger force of Zionism around the globe, throughout history, and certainly in the United States of America, that is far more consequential and has outsized control in American politics than Jews and their opinion on Israel. It's evangelical Zionism. Kufi is the largest donation group to the settlement project to Israel in general in this country, Christians United.
See, this is why Tinder doesn't work, okay? This is why dating young people on Tinder doesn't work, okay? Everything is, like, awesome and fun until, like, they reveal that they listen to Hasan in their free time, and whether or not you support Palestine, it's over, dude.
For Israel, it is evangelical Christians that are the force. This is why I have always said that even if every single American Jew tomorrow turned around and said, I'm an anti-Zionist, America's foreign policy and its association with Israel would not change, especially in the short term, because America's investment in Israel has nothing to do with Jews as a special category or as a special class. It has everything to do with material interest. Now, having said that, has there been a lot of influence peddling in the process over the course of the past 77, 78 years? Of course there has been. Is there an ideological component to the zealotry demonstrated by a lot of Christian Zionists, Jewish Zionists alike? Absolutely. But that's not the driving force of this allegiance. That's not the driving force of this partnership. That's not the reason why, when USS Liberty happens, like the American government's like, oh, don't say anything, That's not the reason why Israel's a special status client state. It is the fact that Israel is a unsinkable aircraft carrier with its own espionage facilities. It is America's very own special attack dog that it can always control in a resource-rich region, rich both in oil, but also incredibly important for global trade with the Suez Canal. That's it. That's precisely why Joe Biden said in the 90s, if Israel didn't exist, we'd make one. He was right. He was honest about America's framework on this issue.
Were there not an Israel, the United States of America would have to invent an Israel to protect her interest in the region. The United States would have to go out and invent an Israel.
It was politically infeasible. What is the pathway that takes us from the present situation to the dissolution of Israel as a Jewish state? I don't see how this could happen without either a total internal collapse of Israeli society or else, nuclear war. As usual, leftists have championed a doomed cause. And at this point, it's like it turns into just your own personal, incredibly petty, incredibly self-centered attitude about what you think the online left is doing. It turns into just like looking at an issue that is black and white and saying, well, it's the worst crime that you can ever do, genocide, but the leftists are just like being crazy about it. Like, this is just your stupid gripes with leftist people online and what you perceive as like the broader movement, the broader pro-Palestinian movement.
This isn't even like... This is why you should never almost never admit to a leftist that there is a genocide in Israel, okay? First of all, not only is there like a lot of counter evidence to that, and there's a lack of evidence in order to prove that positive claim, okay? But in addition, all right, yeah, it's a, you know what? If there is a genocide, the thing is that leftists will never acknowledge that there are other genocides happening in other countries right now, or like in the last like 10 years or so, than it is to use a genocide to paint America bad. The agenda in the end is always to criticize America endlessly, forever, without any real progress, because if there is progress being made, then you can't criticize America anymore. Okay, it's really... Lefties are just addicted to criticizing America, okay? Like, this is their entire social network, their entire, like, friend groups, their entire, like, way of earning money or any of that sort is just completely... it completely revolves around being... just criticizing America, okay? This is why they don't want improvement, is because otherwise they lose their social cohesion, okay? Improvement means they can no longer be negative, okay?
The internal collapse of Israeli society is going to happen. It is inevitable because it is built on the foundation of ethnic cleansing. It is propped up. It doesn't have the chattel slavery and the colonial extraction that the American government had, where it could have completed its ethnic cleansing as America did to the indigenous population here, and then continue on with its imperial project. Israel cannot make...
Just notice how many fucking genocides they actively defend when America isn't like the catalyst for it, right? Think about it. The Bosnian genocide, leftists love defending the Bosnian genocide, right? Far leftists at the very least. Leftists also love attacking NATO, right? They also love defending China, the orchestrator of the Uyghur genocide. Yeah, like, fuck, like anything that is essentially... And now, like, at this point we we are seeing leftists defend the Holocaust, okay? Probably even, right? Like they are kind of trying to downplay the Holocaust to some degree. If you say that the Jews don't feel as though like they don't deserve their right to a land of their own after the Holocaust has happened, then yeah, you are downplaying the Holocaust to some degree. I would say, like, yeah, having a land to their own after the Holocaust is like the least you could do for them. Like, what the fuck? That's fucked up, right? It doesn't have to be in Palestine. It could be literally anywhere else, okay? So, you shouldn't be entirely opposed to like the idea of a state of Israel, right? But again, like even then they want to downplay situations like the Holocaust. Like as long as it's a genocide that is not America perpetrated or Western world perpetrated, they literally can give two single flying fucks about it, like at all, right? Like
maintain this without unlimited support from the United States of America. Whereas the United States of America is capable or was capable of reaching a point of
Do you guys remember when Hasan was defending China's like fucking expansionism in Taiwan, and literally all the surrounding territories ever in that whole area, basically? Oh my god, that was so unhinged. Bro. Dude, and the Uyghurs? Oh my god, dude. It was so fucking weird. It was so fucking weird when he was defending that part during that 4-hour debate.
Independence, so it could continue dominating the world. And I believe that this is precisely the reason why people chirp about this stuff, to be like, don't talk about the...
That's the difference, though. My tax dollars aren't being airdropped in China or Serbia. That's not even true, because your tax dollars is going to NATO, and NATO helps to prevent genocides. So that's not even true. Your tax dollars is going to something that actively tries to prevent genocide or does not prevent genocide. So you're not even correct on that.
Inconsistencies. Don't talk about the inequities. Don't talk about the apartheid. Don't talk about the dissolution of Zionism or the Zionist state. Anyway. Dangerous ambiguities. The vagueness of Zionism as a political Satan enables all kinds of rhetorical abuses. The dangers of Nazism as a political statement enables all kinds of rhetorical abuses. This is an argument that you're launching here is virtually identical to the Boers and their existence in apartheid South Africa, the white South Africans that wanted to maintain an apartheid. Like, it's ridiculous. It's like saying this about Nazi Germany. The dangers of developing enmity towards the Germans who support the Nazi regime. What the is this? It enables all kinds of rhetorical abuses. On the one hand, right-wing Israelis hold up all anti-Zionist protests as existentially threatening and inherently anti-Semitic. On the other hand, there is a long history of anti-Semites using the term Zionist in deliberately equivocal ways, Zog, etc. Anti-Semites are happy for the opportunity to misappropriate the now popular anti-Zionist label to legitimize their agenda, and many people are not informed enough about anti-Semitism to recognize when this is happening. These problems are mutually reinforcing. You know what's crazy about this? This isn't wrong. But what's wrong about this is to slam this in a conversation where you're supposed to be making this distinction, but from the perspective of someone who is not a Zionist. People like myself.
David, are you hopping into weight room? You said you wanted to debate, right?
We do this every day. There are so many much better read, much better activists out there on this issue that make this distinction every day. The difference is we see Muslims and Palestinians as human beings, and I think if you have this statement, if you can just say, well, these people are being slaughtered, but you don't see them as human beings. You don't see them as full-blown human beings. Deep down inside, you have to feel like they kind of deserve it, and they should quietly just go away because they're...
Then why the fuck did you say, hey, you want to debate on this? Okay, all right.
Ruining your day by simply existing in the direction of Israeli bombs and not quietly perishing away, but instead speaking out against their demise. Paragraph 3, dread. The online left has spent the last 20 months distributing hundreds of photos and videos of dead Palestinian children. The main effect of this, and this is the worst part about this, by the way, the main effect of this has been to create a population of people in a constant state of blood-boiling rage with no consequential political outlet. I fear this may be worse than useless. Anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism are conceptually not the same, and conflating them is dangerous. But in practice, the way Israel is perceived does seep out into attitudes towards Jews in general. I don't think the Jews who feel isolated and wary of the current atmosphere are simply hysterical or hallucinating. Yes, there's a communal trauma and hypervigilance. Yes, there's disingenuous right-wing ghouls dismissing and censoring all criticism of Israel in the pretext of fighting anti-Semitism. But there's also a valid fear of historical anti-Semitism patterns recurring, and that fear gives power to the right-wing Zionist claim that only Israel can keep Jews safe. Does this mean Israel should not be criticized or sanctioned? Absolutely not. But it's something I don't want to risk contributing to, if not outweighed by tangible benefits, so I approach the issue cautiously. This is the absolute worst possible thing you can say. because it is the most.
What? Oh, wow. Remember, being aware and trying not to be anti-Semitic is like the worst fucking thing you can possibly say, apparently. Okay. Great. Good one. Okay. Amazing. It's just terrific.
Wokeified, most intellectualized version of what Benjamin Netanyahu says when he says these are telegenically dead children.
He's on American television here. I'm sure that they interviewed the Hamas spokesperson right afterwards. But let's hear Prime Minister Netanyahu first from Israel.
It's a horrendous sight what's going on right now. If you look at the images, heart-wrenching. What goes through your mind when you see that?
I'm very sad. When I see that, I'm very sad. We're sad for every civilian casualties. They're not intended. This is the difference between us. The Hamas deliberately targets civilians and deliberately hides behind civilians. And all civilian casualties are unintended by us, but actually intended by Hamas. They want to pile up as many civilian dead as they can, because somebody said they use, I mean, it's gruesome, they use telegenically dead Palestinians for their cause.
And you know who's actually distributing the photos of hundreds of dead Palestinian children? Palestinians are. It's not actually the left that's distributing those photos. It's the Palestinians themselves that are speaking out on their own.
Yeah, dude, it's not, dude. Yeah, no fucking shit. No fucking shit. This is such like bad faith analysis right here. Like, this is like the definition of bad faith. Yeah, no, do you think that Contrapoints is literally saying leftists are going to like Palestine right now to take pictures and make photos? Hell no, okay? You really think leftists are like going out of their comfort zone, right, of their mom's basement to like do anything useful ever for society, or to do actual real journalism? Let's be honest about this, okay? Hasan wouldn't even travel to Gaza. Why? Because he's too scared to die. He wouldn't travel to Israel or Gaza to do journalism at all. Like obviously Contrapoints doesn't fucking mean, all right, doesn't mean like actual leftists going over there to take photos. She means like fucking Pallywood type shit. And then leftists are the ones responsible for spreading them, right?
Genocide, on their own ethnic cleansing. So to sit there and be like, this is just the woke left being woke by really pushing people to get angry about this documented genocide every single day is a psychotic thing to say. This is the worst thing that she mentions in this entire. It's not only wrong, once again, wrong on the facts. It is not the online left, because the online left is not in Gaza. Palestinians are in Gaza. They are the ones who are showing their own conditions. And to treat this as like a simple nuisance, something that is causing your day to be worse, something that's giving you blood-boiling rage, and then where does that rage go? Against Jews? Like, what kind of statement is this? This is the most politically correct version of saying this is Pallywood that I've ever seen. It is an unimaginably freakish thing to say. Incredibly disappointing.
I mean, because there's so much footage, you do want to endlessly critique power based off of that, right? Because there is, now you have a tangible way to connect dead children to anti-American sentiment. Like, I have seen that one leftist debate Hutch, where he was literally demanding Hutch to watch it on stream, even though Hutch is saying, yeah, if I watch this footage, I might get actually punished or banned. But then the leftist refused to concede that point. Like, refuses to concede like Hutch's like plea to understanding that, yeah, uploading that reaction could actually get me banned, or playing it on stream could get me banned because it's a photo of a child fucking dying, or it's a video of a child fucking dying, right? Or a dead kid. Like, obviously that is against TOS, but then the leftist wants to watch it anyway. Why? Because it helps them jerk off. All right, like, I'm sorry that the photo of dead children turns you on. I'm sorry that, you know, liberals don't share your fetish for for dead children. All right. Like, again, it's this kind of like, oh, cheating is so bad, but it turns me on type shit, right? Where it's like, oh, you know, dead children are so bad. I fucking hate it when children die, but I can't get enough of it. I have to watch another 5 hours of children dying in order to feel good about myself.
Like,
Oh
what's
my
the
God.
alternative? You see these harrowing images, and you don't look at them and feel some type of way. You don't actually try to get.
See, now that he just makes it sound incredibly sus. Oh, you don't look at these images and feel some type of way. Well, how are we supposed to be feeling, Hasan? Okay? Yes, we know it's tragic, but that doesn't mean you should fucking traumatize yourself over and over again just to show that you care about Palestinians. What a ridiculous point, right? At this point, the only the only way you're watching that footage over and over again for the 5,000th time is because you're turned on by it. That's the real reason why. Okay, you're turned on by it, and that's why you watch the footage of people dying over and over again, because you think to yourself, if I don't watch this footage, I can never get off today. Okay, I have to watch this footage in order to get off today. Okay. So yeah, of course it's fucking silly ass shit, dude.
Get others
we
to
don't want to look
also
at dead
feel
kids. The fuck?
angry and resentful towards what Israel is doing, which is genocide, and our contributions to said genocide as Americans. Crazy. A shameful statement. I cannot believe that Natalie typed this out, read it through, made sure there were no grammatical errors, and then thought that this was good to publish. It really reveals, it really truly reveals how little the people in her immediate orbit give a singular shred of a about the lives of Palestinians. Clearly, there was not a single person that could have turned around and said, hey, you know how you said like conflating Israel with Judaism is dangerous? Maybe just hyper focus on that aspect and talk about the cynical conflation being crafted by both liberal Zionists, and also the Nazis alike. I fear this may be worse than useless. We already talked about this. Yes, there's communal trauma and hypervigilance. Yes, there's disingenuous right-wing ghouls dismissing and censoring all criticism. But it's something I don't want to risk contributing to. It's not outweighed by the tangible benefits. Yeah, I'm not going to contribute to anger and resentment towards the genocidal apartheid state of Israel unless there is an immediate solution. What is this if not cowardice? It also presents the issue as people who are pro-Palestine against Jews. It's the long way to take this like vapid, self-centered, incredibly smug.
Yeah, and that's a very bad faith interpretation of what that's not, that's not even true. And the reason that's not even true is because Contrapoints literally said that what's going on is a genocide, and she has donated in private, right? And that she has donated in private about it. Right? So you don't even believe that.
Attitude while talking about how, every time you're doing, activism or what you think is activism, when you go out to the streets and you protest against Israel, or you say Zionism is fascist, which it literally is, right? Every time you say the truth about Israel, every time you say the truth about Zionism as a political ideology, okay, as an ethno-supremacist, exterminationist political ideology, you're actually harming the Jews. Jews have been around for thousands of years. Zionism has been around for 78. Well, longer than 78, but Israel's been around for 78. Zionism has been around for a little bit longer than 78. The f*** do you mean? This conflation was deliberate, and it was a relatively new phenomenon. The notion that you would also come out with this statement after 20 months, hundreds of thousands of dead Palestinians, every single day we see.
Yeah, I can't believe Contrapoints killed all of them herself, dude. I can't believe Contrapoints literally, killed all of these Palestinians herself. Oh my gosh, she's such a monster. What the fuck?
50 Palestinians being shot at that are starving at a American Israel backed fake charity scheme, because they've cut off all aid distribution into the Strip so they can do perfidy and use aid as a military mechanism to further displace and to further kill the Palestinian population, to make it impossible to survive in the Strip, so they can inevitably move them to concentration camps in Rafah and then move them away from the Palestinian lands into the Sinai Peninsula or wherever, probably the UAE. The idea that this had anything to do with Judaism is psychotic, but to say that 20 months in is extra crazy. Bitterness. There have been so many controversies, some of it like intra-community, with respect to like takes that Contrapoints has had throughout her career that I have never really paid too much attention to. You know, I have not. I've thought that she is.
He's read 4 sentences of Contra's post and addressed none of them. Yeah, pretty much. It's
overall positive figure that plays a formative role in crafting lengthy, visually appealing arguments that can reach.
I saw comments on DGG's Reddit that her statement was unhinged because she didn't mention all the things that occurred on October 7th. I didn't come away with that impression. Maybe you were viewing some comments with like lower ratings on the comments, like it was more downvoted, that she was downplaying. I mean, I think that it's worth it to say, yeah, there is rape that happened on October 7th. And, you know, Hasan actively downplays it, right? And these kinds of people are, like, horrendous people, right? I totally agree with that, but, you know, fuck.
A lot of people and change their minds.
I don't think she's
Contra has never
required to say
de-radicalized
that.
an alt-righter. Her messaging has been exclusively for the social media obsessed libs who singularly care about domestic social issues. I don't think that's the case.
no
I think
shit.
there are probably even people in here who have seen seen trans existence in a totally different light as a consequence of watching her videos. I don't think that's correct. I don't think that's correct at all. I think like she has been able to change people's minds on certain issues. She's played a role in this, just as I have, just as other people have. Much of the online left spent all of 2024.
Just as you have? What the fuck has you done for anything? Like, the effects of Hasan is having more angry people, like, in the world. More angry and unproductive people in the world. Like, that's literally, like, what Hasan has created, okay? People who's incredibly cringe and incredibly annoying, most of all, okay? The worst fucking kinds of people who actively deny rapes, okay? Who actively deny, like, who downplay the actions of Hamas, right, on October 7th. Like, this is like... This is on another level. Like, he has created extremists. Like, he has essentially created Nazis in waiting, right? He has created the leftist version of Nazis, essentially. Like, I just don't think it's that far of a thing to say. Like, he literally goes to anti-Semitic conspiracy theories whenever he could. He loves them. It's his favorite thing.
Or single-mindedly focused on Palestine and the complicity of the Democratic politicians in sending aid to Israel. This campaign had the following effects. 0 Palestinian lives were saved. Not one fewer bomb or bullet was fired by the IDF. It may have slightly contributed to the re-election of Trump, guaranteeing that the U.S. will put no diplomatic pressure on Netanyahu for at least 4 years, and making protests against Israel much riskier and less effective. Trump is also, incidentally, a menace to me and basically everyone I care about. A perfectly enlightened being would feel no bitterness about this, but I do.
Wow. Good one, Hasan.
It's just so, I mean, this is so incredibly self-centered. It's crazy. And not because I'm like centering this around what she's saying, which is trans issues and how much worse they're getting under Donald Trump as opposed to Joe Biden, even though I think plenty of trans people would disagree with that as well, saying that a lot of these anti-trans initiatives kickstarted under Joe Biden and Trump has just simply accelerated it, reaching its logical conclusion. But not only that, but especially on the issue of Israel, this is even more pertinent to the discussion. She is completely incorrect on this, not on the trans issue side, but she's completely incorrect on what she is saying about, one, the singular focus of the left. At least here, a lot of people would say that I was singularly focused on Palestine. It was not the case. There were a litany of criticisms that I had about the Kamala campaign and a litany of criticisms I had about the Joe Biden administration. Gaza was certainly an important part of this because it's a genocide. But it is crazy that, like, there is no logic here because You should be mad at the people in power. You should be mad at Kamala Harris and Joe Biden for wanting to continue this genocide, even if it was politically infeasible for them to do so, even if continuing this genocide actually played a role in her losing the election to an incompetent fascist piece of shit. The idea that the genocide protesters, the anti-genocide protesters are wrong and not the Democratic Party that looked at a 75-25 issue in that moment that signified...
Yeah, but she's right though. Like, it looks bad for the left to be fighting itself. One of the Republican Party's biggest strengths is the ability to look unified. So she's extremely correct. When you have like pro-Palestinian losers at like different democratic fucking speeches or whatever, and you don't have them showing up at Republican places, right? Again, they want to criticize Democrats more than they want to criticize Republicans, okay? Then yeah, of course, it's gonna look really bad, of course.
Perhaps the most significant problem with the Kamala Harris campaign, which was not cutting ties with the Biden administration, not just on Gaza, but on numerous different policies.
Well, if anything, would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
Because Biden was incredibly unpopular, immensely unpopular. He was old, he was decrepit. He was a beacon of a dying empire, a dying party.
Let's see, it's also like Build Back Better, the CHIPS Act, the infrastructure bill. He was a part of expanding child tax credit, blah, blah, blah. Look, okay, all right, dude. But, he was decrepit, and his policies don't affect me because I'm rich.
That had fallen out of
Also, his policies doesn't affect us because none of us have children.
favor. And Kamala Harris said, I'm not going to do
And his policies don't affect us because none of us actually care about Taiwan.
anything different. She could have been a fresh new face, and she did not do that. The real anger and resentment should be, how the did the Democrats not care about all of this death and destruction and the understandable resentment
Oh yeah, and don't forget about the border bill
that was brewing organically in the base?
Never forget
How did
that
they not
part.
even cynically, in a cold
took that
and
from us,
calculated,
okay?
heartless manner, not take advantage? I can't believe I'm using these terms, but like not even take advantage of
Anti-trans
the
is crazy.
ongoing issue and present yourself as anti-war, anti-genocide. Even if you didn't care about the dead, charred children of Palestine, you
The
could have
dead,
simply
charred children.
used this as an opportunity.
Dude, he's like one step away from like coming. Bro is literally edging himself, okay, on like dead children, okay. He's literally about to go like, and that child could have been so hot.
To cut your ties with the Biden administration that was a dead weight. It was an anchor around your neck. It was criminal negligence. They did not care. They were too predisposed with trying to win with their own method, with their own strategy, that they refused to see that this issue had changed forever. Sending Bill Clinton to Dearborn to talk about Judea and Samaria. Sending Richie Torres to Dearborn. I had these conversations with people who are connected to the Biden administration. If you recall, I did the Pod Johns. I did Pod Save America before the election and after the election. If you recall, every single thing that I brought up that the Kamala Harris campaign was doing that was wrong before the election became the major focal point of how they lost the election. Running around with Liz Cheney, refusing to let a Palestinian